What up, people? So today I wanted to talk about a manga that I recently finished that I've never really seen get talked about a whole lot, and I just wanted to let y'all know what's up. Now, if you've read the title, you know that I will be talking about Blade of the Immortal. And honestly, about halfway through this manga, I could already tell this was going to be one of my absolute favorites. So I come to you now, after finishing it, bearing good news. It's a good manga, people. It's good. It's good! So, Blade of the Immortal follows the general plot line of there's an immortal dude named Manji with a fucking swastika on his back that killed a bunch of people for all the wrong reasons. So now he goes up to this chick and he's all like, hey, if I kill 1,000 bad guys, can I not be immortal anymore? And she's like, yeah. So kind of an odd start to a story, and upon reading the first chapter and figuring this all out, you're left wondering, well, where is it going to go from here? What are they going to introduce that's going to keep me invested? Is it just going to be this immortal guy getting cut up a bunch and then eventually killing a bunch of people over and over again? So because that would be fairly boring and repetitive, what the mangaka has instead done is craft this really excellent story revolving around this group of bandits named the Ito Ryu, a very prevalent side character who's honestly pretty much the main character, named Rin, who's hired Manji as her bodyguard so she can go and kill said Ito Ryu people because her parents are dead because they killed their fucking parents, wah wah. And a bunch of other stuff going on involving different groups within the government and all these other little complexities going on. There is a ton of plot lines going on all at the same time in this manga, and it never really feels too confusing. And I think that's mostly due to all the plot lines being interwoven with each other in some way or another, either because of certain characters' relationships with others, their actions that they did, or their social standing. Sometimes some random guy that decided to tag along with Manji and Rin will end up turning against them in some way or just display how he's an awful human being. And now Manji needs to kill him, but oh wait, he was involved in this other incident and now he's super fucked up, or just something like that. I tried to be super vague with that, but I kind of spoiled something. Hopefully you don't remember that, and you just take that as me being fucking vague and weird. But I think one of the more interesting aspects of Blade of the Immortal is the villain. The villain is named Anotsu Kagehisa, and he is a villain, and he's decided to become a villain because his grandfather was not chosen to inherit a certain sword school due to him using a foreign sword. He was then cast out of the school and started to make his own, in spite of the teachings of his master. So fast forward a bunch, and now you've got his grandson, Anotsu Kagehisa, and he wants to take it a bit of a step further. Rather than just having a sword school which is dedicated to teaching whatever, he's decided to amass a group of crazy people that just fight to kill people, and that's really it. There's no sword style, there's no techniques or anything like that. He's just amassed a bunch of crazies. And he goes around to every single dojo and kills the master, or lets them join, whatever one they want to choose, to display their strength and to further their influence throughout the country. Now, you actually spend a lot of time just following Kagehisa's journey throughout all of this, and it really gives you a lot of insight into his character, where he's not necessarily all bad. He doesn't just wish to kill people willy-nilly, but he is still imposing his will on everybody and killing people in the process, which is a bit of a no-no. But it's the entire goal of the series, for the most part, for Rin and Manji to find this guy and then have Rin watch as he dies. You know, he can die any other way, but Rin's gotta be there and she's gotta see it. So I've established that the plot is pretty good. I've given you some examples of stuff that I liked, you know, the villain, all the interweaving plot lines, and all this other different stuff going on, with the main focus pretty much being on Manji killing 1,000 bad guys. And that's all fine. That's all perfectly serviceable, and I honestly think the plot was pretty damn good. But what really elevates this to God tier, in my opinion, making it one of like the best manga I've ever read? Well, that comes down to the visuals. The artwork for this series is goddamn fantastic. There's not a whole lot that I can really compare it to. It does have a 90s look to it, as it did originally start publication in the 90s. But to me, it more resembles a manhwa that I read about a year back called Shaman Warrior. And Shaman Warrior came out well after Blade of the Immortal, so I'm sure that the artist for that got some inspiration. But the art style has this interesting, sketchy look to it all, as a lot of the stuff is actually done in pencil and not inked in at all, which I find especially interesting. But the standout pieces of artwork are hands down the action sequences. The artist just has such an interesting and effective way of displaying movement and action and all these intricate fight scenes that go on like all the time. You really feel the intensity in all of the shots. Maybe it's how well things flow from panel to panel. I can't describe it accurately because I'm not an artist, but this guy just knows how to get your blood pumping with some still images, and it's fucking crazy how he's able to accomplish it. Every single action scene has this visceral and complicated feel to it, both at the same time. It's super weird. You'll have fights that sometimes end in a single swing, and they're just as awesome as the ones where Manji may be strapped to a tree trying to fight back against 2 or 3 different people. And the whole immortality thing is really explored. There's an entire arc where they go deep into all the different effects that immortality has, if it can be transferred to other people and whatnot. But in the action scenes, immortality works great for just a lot of dismemberment, decapitation, limb dismemberment, it's all par for the course. And sometimes it's even worked into fights to give other people advantages in all these really interesting ways. Like, the fight scenes are so goddamn good. I'd say my one real issue with this manga is how it wraps everything up, because it feels just a little bit rushed right at the end, as all these characters come together and meet in this one location, and then they just kind of finish things. Slap an epilogue chapter on the end, and then it just kind of finishes. All the plot lines, except for one, are wrapped up very well in the end, but I just couldn't help but feel that things just happened a bit too fast. Maybe it was just me being sad that this manga that I've been reading for a while, due to its surprising length, and had been enjoying so much, was just ending. But who really knows? Because I don't. So yeah, guys, that's Blade of the Immortal. I fucking loved it. Just go check it out, because I think you'll really appreciate it. If you're an action fan, you love your action manga, I think this is required reading. But if you're kind of iffy about it, you go back and forth about action manga, but you do like a good story, I still think you should check this out because it may surprise you with its plot. I was certainly surprised. I thought the plot itself would be very bare bones and just focus purely on action, but it doesn't. And that's a good thing, because both the plot and the action are solid. I think the action's a bit more solid, which is why I say action fans should really read it, but it does everything very well. That's it. See you in the next one. Have a productive day. Has anyone said productive day before on this fucking website? I don't know.